Welcome. In this session, I'll be discussing about the concept of classes and objects, and we will see how these classes and objects can be used in Python programming. I'm assuming that the audience are already aware about the concept of classes and objects, and also the object-oriented programming paradigms. In object-oriented programming, we have the concept where the data is encapsulated into a class, and the class has a visibility mode. The class has functions associated with this, and a top-down approach of programming is used, where the real-world entities are modeled as classes, and the instances are represented as objects, and the functions are called with reference to those objects. That is the concept. What I'm assuming that the audience are knowing about the concept of object-oriented programming. Actually, Python is not purely an object-oriented language like Java. And also in many cases, we don't find that the classes and objects are being used in Python programming. But Python being a versatile programming language, it provides a facility to use this classes and object concept. So with this background, let us understand how this classes and object concept is being used in Python. So here to declare a class, I should simply use the word class and class followed by some class name. Let me call as my class. Okay, fine. And inside that, I'll declare a variable and initialize the value. Okay, that's done. So this is a simple example where I can declare the class. Okay. Once we declare this class, we should create an object of this class. So, um, yeah, there is an error because I missed the colon over there. There should be a colon always. Okay, that's a kind of error what we get. And I'm using a Jupyter notebook right now in Google Colabs. Using the Google Colabs where I'm using the Jupyter notebook. Okay, now the class is created. In my next statement, I'll create an object P and I will say my class. That is, I'm creating the object of that class. You can see that that drop down appears over there. Means it's already the class is already created, and I'm now creating the object of that class, and I'm printing the value print, and I'm using the object that is p dot uh, that is x. Okay, p dot x. Let's see what happens. Okay, the value is getting printed. So what I did here, I created a class. I kept a variable inside the class. Then in the next statement, I created an object of that class. This is the syntax for creating the object of a class. That is object name, assignment operator, followed by the class name, followed by set of brackets. Set of brackets. Then I will be able to access the variable which I defined inside the class with reference to the object. That is the convention in any programming language, and this is how it is being done in Python. Then next comes, we can have functions inside that class and can have many number of variables. There is a concept of constructor in object-oriented programming. Here, a constructor is replaced with something called as an init function. Init function has a specific syntax. Now let us use a little bigger class. You can see that, okay, I will keep this over here. Okay, I'm declaring a person class. Then I'm defining a function. What is that? How to define a function is what we have discussed in the previous session on writing a function, passing parameter to the function, writing the body of the function. This is what we had discussed in the previous session on how to write functions in Python. Now, init function is just like any other function, only difference is in its name. The syntax of function declaration is def followed by the function name. Here you can see the function name is underscore underscore, there are two underscores, underscore underscore init is a keyword, again followed by two underscores. Okay, that is the name. This is what we say as a constructor. Whereas in Java and C++, we have the requirement that the constructor should have same name as that of the class name. Here it has a requirement that it should have a init. The function name has to be init with two underscores in the beginning, two underscore at the end. Now look at the parameter. If I am passing two parameters, here we have to pass one more additional parameter, what is called as the self-referencing parameter. Self-referencing parameter. By convention, the name of the self-referencing parameter is self. Of course, it is not a rule. We will always have a freedom to change this. But always we should remember the first parameter to a function which is declared inside the class, the first parameter is an object of the class which is self-referencing. Okay, that is in this example, the name is self. Then I am passing name and I am passing age. And that object, that is class member name is equal to this name, class member age is equal to this age. Of course, we have not declared those variables because that is not required to be declared. Okay, that is the end of the class. This is the class body. After that, we are creating an object with the name John and age is equal to 36. Then the print statements. P1.name, John is to be printed, 36 have to be printed. In the next line, let us execute this. As expected, John and 36 is being printed. Now I've mentioned that self is not a keyword. It can be anything. I can say anything. Yeah, good. Works. Same thing has to be replaced, obviously. Anything. And it can also be same object name has to be used everywhere. Now I will run this part of the code. Let me say John. I will make a Jack of age. That will be pretty younger. Okay, 20. 20 and Jack. Let us execute. Oh, there's an error. What is the error? Let us work on this. There's a name error. Observe this thing. There is a name error. Okay. In the next session, we will be dealing on this. This is called as exception handling, which we will be discussing in the next session. Okay. Here the problem is name anything is not defined. Where? Here. Because there's a typo. There's a typing error where I missed a T. So, even though it's an error, we learned something on this. Name error appears here, and what this kind of situation is called as exception handling. What to do this? That's our next session. And when we are using Colabs, it also provides a provision for you to search for this error directly on the Stack Overflow. Well, now we don't need to do that because we know our mistakes. I should put a T over here, that becomes anything. Run this. Yeah, that is my output. Jack and 20 is being displayed. That is self-referencing pointer can take any name of your choice. But you should remember, the programmer should remember that the first argument has to be a self-referencing pointer when when a function is declared inside a class, not only constructor. The feature of this init function is that this function gets automatically executed when an object is created. In this line, when I'm saying P1 is equal to person, Jack 20, what happens actually is that this init function is getting executed with name is equal to Jack and age is equal to 20, this parameter being passed to this place. So that is how the class and declaring an object and accessing the members of the object. So that is how it's going to work over here in this example. Now, let me define one more function inside this. I'll define one more function inside the class. Okay, define my function. It can be anything again. My name is, it's not self, it can be self, I keep it. It can be self. Okay, I'll keep that, and what I do is I will just print that. Like I'll shift that printing statement to this one. Okay, and I will call that function here p1 dot, and this say p1 dot my function, my function, and then I'll bring the age over here. Okay, let's see what happens. Again, obviously I'm expecting that output as hello my name is, that comes over here, hello my name is self.name, that is Jack, and the age is getting printed below in the main sequence. So what we have seen in this example is writing a user-defined function other than a constructor. Other than the init function, I am writing another function called as my function. As I mentioned, there has to be a self-referencing variable. I'm not passing any other variable here, which is not required anyway. Then, as a print hello, and I'm trying to access a class variable. Name is a class variable, instance variable, not a class variable. It's to be instance variable, because for the instance p1, the value is Jack for the variable name. I'm trying to access that, and that is getting printed inside the main function. And this is an example to demonstrate how to call a member function. My function is a member function. With reference to the object, I am calling a member function. And of course, if you want, you can pass a parameter also, just like the one what we did for the init function. We can pass the parameter, which are again separated by comma, and you can type the parameter name, and you can use that inside the program just like what we did earlier. That parameter has to be passed over here. When we are calling the function, that parameter has to be passed. If it is self, we are not passing anything, which will be implicitly passed with reference to p1. The self will be passed to the function. So that is how to write a user-defined function, and this line shows how to call that function, how to call the function what you have defined in any part of the code. Suppose if I add a code part, now I have already declared the object p1. I'll just put one line of code there. Okay, and let me see whether it works. Yes, that works. That is to say, once the class is defined and once the function is defined in Jupyter Notebook, that function and the classes are always available unless you override and do something and remove that its scope. Unless you do that, the functions, the variables, the classes, the objects, whatever you have created are still alive, still can be used. That is what it means in this example, what I have shown you. In another code section, I have executed the my function, which prints the print statement what I have inside this function. Okay, that's all what I have to demonstrate with classes and objects. In the next session, we will see on how to write an exception handling code. Thank you for Thank you for watching this video. I hope got some concept on this, and also I want you to try out other examples on classes and objects and writing functions. I leave it to you. A question to you is that is there a scope resolution possible inside the class? Inheritance is possible. We have a concept of inheritance in Python, which is beyond the scope of this workshop. So I'll not be taking that session over here because in machine learning, inheritance is not a major issue. So not being used anywhere. So I'll not be taking up that. Thank you. We'll see you in the next session.